Kiesha Abrahams became a well-known figure in the media after she was reported missing by her mother, Abrahams, and her partner, Robert Smith, in August 2010. Abrahams informed police and reporters that she had put Keisha to bed around 9:30 p.m. in their Herbersham home. But by the next morning, the little girl was gone. However, from the beginning, homicide detectives suspected a more disturbing truth behind her disappearance. After several months, and just before her arrest in April 2011, Abrahams tearfully confessed to an undercover officer, revealing the harrowing details of Keisha's final hours and the steps she and Smith took to cover up the crime. Contrary to her initial story, Keisha wasn't peacefully sent to sleep after the family movie night. Instead, Abrahams admitted to injuring Keisha on the bedroom floor when the child resisted putting on her pajamas. Abrahams described how Keisha felt like jelly and was unresponsive when placed in the shower. By the next morning, Keisha was dead. Last month, a dental expert testified that Keisha's injuries were similar to an adult sporting injury, contradicting Abrahams' claim that she had merely nudged her daughter with her foot. Keisha's body remained in a suitcase for several days before Abrahams and Smith took a taxi to Chalvet, walked into the bush, and discarded her remains. Abrahams told the undercover officer she was terrified of walking, and seeing Keisha's body set on fire. 8 months after reporting Keisha's missing, the pair was arrested while visiting her gravesite to mark what would have been her 7th birthday. Smith pleaded guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced earlier this year to at least 12 years in prison. What's good, family? Silas here. Welcome to The Legal Mind. And today I have a story that is really heartbreaking. It holds a lot of emotions, and no child should encounter such trauma at the hands of the people whom should offer them protection and love. But before we begin, just a quick reminder. I post crime stories and strange matters that encompasses legal elements, and if that sounds like your kind of content, please do consider pressing the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that whenever I post a new video, you will receive a notification of that. Without much further ado, buckle up and let's dive into the story that we have at hand, and that is the story of Kristi Abrahams. Welcome to the beautiful country of Australia, which is a population of approximately 26,600,000 people. The name Australia comes from the Latin word australis, meaning southern. Australia serves as an island, country, and a continent at the same time. It holds the title of the largest island globally, ranks as the 6th largest country, and is the smallest continent. Its width spans the same distance as the stretch between London and Moscow. The platypus and echidna, both native to Australia, are the only mammals in the world that reproduce by laying eggs. Moreover, kangaroos and emus cannot walk backward. They are featured on the Australian coat of arms. The symbolism is progress, that Australia can only move forward. Australia is home to over 750 species of reptiles, the highest number compared to any other country. Among them is the saltwater crocodile, the world's largest reptile and one of the planet's oldest creatures resembling dinosaurs. When visiting Darwin in the Northern Territory, consider taking a cruise on the Adelaide River to witness these crocodiles leap from the water. Their powerful jumps and formidable jaws are truly astonishing. Interestingly, Australia's first police force, known as the Night Watch, was established by Governor Arthur Phillip in 1789 to address the rising crime rates in Sydney town. This group consisted of 12 well-behaved convicts chosen for their good conduct. However, Australia has its own fair share of controversial matters, and we will see that as we delve into the story that we have. Kristi Abrahams. Kristi Abrahams, who murdered her defenseless 6-year-old daughter Keisha, led a life beyond most people's understanding, as described by the judge who sentenced her. The police and community remain deeply affected by a crime that is difficult to comprehend. Justice Ian Harrison characterized Abrahams as an inevitable product of entrenched intergenerational failures. In sentencing her to a minimum of 16 years for murder and interfering with the cops, he remarked, "The offender's failings are mirrored in the failings of others." Parenthood is not only bestowed on those capable of meeting its responsibilities, said Justice Harrison. Abrahams was clearly ill-equipped for the role and likely unaware of it. Keisha's death was a foreseeable and preventable outcome of these circumstances. The sentence, seen as relatively light compared to other cases, angered those who were present in the Supreme Court, with some shouting, "Rot in hell," and calling Abrahams a putrid dog, as he was led away without emotion. Justice Harrison acknowledged the public vilification Abrahams faced and noted that, among the many emotions felt by the community, guilt was significant. Throughout the court proceedings, Abrahams only showed emotion when her own troubled childhood was discussed. She had discovered her mother dead at age 10 and experienced a childhood of abuse and neglect, compounded by an intellectual disability. Ironically, she had wanted to place Keisha with her father, the man she blamed for her early life of pain, when she felt she couldn't handle her daughter anymore. Russell Oxford, the senior officer who led the investigation, hoped the outcome would make parents reflect and hug their children. Justice Harrison emphasized the need for both retribution and mercy. As Abrahams was led away, many in the gallery felt mercy was what Keisha had received the least. Abrahams was sentenced to 21 years and 6 months, with 18 months for interfering with the cops. Combined, she received a minimum term of 16 years. With time already served, she will be eligible for parole in 2027. Justice Harrison noted he couldn't be certain Abrahams intended to kill Keisha, or that she was responsible for sustained abuse. But she did mean to seriously injure her. The exact cause of Keisha's death remains unknown due to the condition of her remains, which was set alight at burial. Robert Smith, Abrahams' partner who buried Keisha, pleaded guilty to manslaughter in December 2011 and received at least 12 years in prison. Justice Harrison pointed out that while there is a 25-year standard non-parole period for the murder of a child, other factors could influence the sentence. He reiterated that Abrahams had been publicly vilified throughout the case. The courtroom was packed with former friends, police, and family, with some shouting, "Go to hell," as Abrahams was taken away. Despite her guilty plea to manslaughter in May, prosecutors rejected it, leading to a trial. On June 17, as the trial was about to start, Abrahams pleaded guilty to the murder. The court reviewed that Kristi Abrahams' failures as a mother could be traced back to her own traumatic childhood. Kristi Abrahams is very much a product of what happened to her. Her barrister Janet Manuel SC explained last month. It's very confronting for a community to accept the death of a child at the hands of her own mother. But Kristi did not receive the care she needed, and that was a failure of the system. The court heard that Abrahams grew up with a violent and alcoholic father who spent much of his life in custody. At age 10, she discovered her mother dead in their home, leading to years of moving in and out of foster care. She was never given love and support, which was important to her own development, Manuel stated. While prosecutor Christopher Maxwell QC acknowledged that Abraham's troubled childhood amplifies the tragedy, he emphasized that the anger she felt towards Keisha should be considered during sentencing. Documents presented to the Supreme Court indicated that Abrahams had made threats to harm Keisha before the murder. Expressing frustration over her toilet training and behavior at school. "I really will hurt her. I will kill her," Abrahams repeatedly said. "I can't stand or handle this kid anymore." Keisha had been removed from her mother's care previously, after needing hospital treatment for a bite wound in 2005. Abrahams pleaded guilty to assault and was required to complete an anger management course before Keisha was returned to her in December 2006. Many people noticed that Keisha was in danger, but their concerns were not enough to save her from her violent mother. Keisha attended kindergarten only 4 times, and when education workers tried to address this, Abrahams would lock the door and refuse to answer when they visited. In 2007, a DOCS caseworker spoke with 3-year-old Keisha away from her mother. Keisha pointed to a burn mark and said, "Mom did that, and Mom hid there." Court documents revealed that Abrahams was annoyed by Keisha's resemblance to her biological father, Kristi Weippeart, and this resemblance triggered the abuse. Neighbors and family friends reported seeing Keisha flinch even when Abrahams casually raised her hand, indicated that the little girl was fearful of her mother. The abuse inflicted on Keisha began long before her mother ultimately murdered her. Kristi Abrahams brutally beat her daughter's shoulder when she was just 15 months old. 5 years later, Abrahams and her partner, Robert Smith, reported a missing Keisha, portraying her as always happy, bubbly. The bite was only the first of many severe physical abuse Keisha endured in her short life. On August 3, 2010, the couple appeared distraught as they appealed to the media near their Mount Druitt home, pleading for help to find Keisha. Abrahams, repeatedly calling her daughter beautiful, asked anyone who had seen Keisha to contact the police while clutching a tissue. But by then, Keisha had been dead for 3 weeks. On July 13, Abrahams had knocked her unconscious before she and Smith put her to bed. After Keisha's death, they hid her body in a suitcase in her bedroom for 5 days before disguising themselves, taking a taxi to nearby Shalvey bushland, burning her body and burying it in a shallow grave. The Supreme Court would later hear that Keisha had suffered from fractured teeth, consistent with a contact spot injury or a fall, and multiple injuries suggesting repeated assaults over the weeks and months leading up to her death. These injuries are typical of severe physical abuse in children. Police were suspicious from the beginning. Abrahams had been previously convicted of assaulting Keisha, resulting in the child's removal from her care for 18 months. She was required to follow a parental care plan, attend anger management, and get counseling before Keisha was returned to her in December 2006. Before reporting Keisha missing, the couple made elaborate efforts to pretend she was alive and well. On July 28, 2010, Abrahams bought toys for Keisha, including a Tinkerbell poster. They told police they watched the Golden Compass on the night of July 31st, after which Abrahams put Keisha to bed in pink pajamas and a purple pumpkin patch jacket. They claimed to have found the front door slightly open and Keisha missing the next morning. However, no one had seen Keisha alive since at least July 7, when her grandmother last saw her. The lack of sightings of the young child is puzzling, said Detective Inspector Russell Oxford, the officer in charge of the investigation. Eventually, Smith confessed to an undercover officer. In April 2011, 8 months after reporting Keisha missing on what would have been her 7th birthday, Smith and Abraham were arrested at her makeshift grave. Smith, claiming he was physically abused by Abrahams, pleaded guilty to manslaughter and being an accessory after the fact. Justice Megan Latham sentenced him to at least 12 years, citing his simple and cowardly choice to do nothing during the assault and then helping dispose of Keisha's body. Last month, Abrahams, 30, admitted to Keisha's manslaughter, but the Crown rejected this plea, aiming to try her for murder. She also lost a bid to be tried by Judge Alon due to concerns about pre-trial publicity influencing a jury. Now, nearly 3 years after Keisha's death, the truth is out, and Abrahams has finally taken responsibility for ending a brief, brutal life. On August 3rd, 2010, a heartbreaking picture of 6-year-old Kiesha Abrahams' life emerged as homicide detectives joined the search for the missing girl. Police sources disclosed that Keisha, as a toddler, had been admitted to a hospital in Western Sydney with a bite wound inflicted by an adult. The injury, described as significant, highlighted the cruelty she had endured. It was also revealed that Keisha was known to various government departments, including education and health. However, most details of her distressing life remain unreported due to legal constraints. Keisha was last seen at 9:30 p.m. on Saturday evening, dressed in pink pajamas and a purple pumpkin patch jacket, when her mother, Kristi Abrahams, put her to bed at their apartment on Woodstock Avenue in Herbersham. She was reported missing on Sunday morning, when her mother found her bed empty and the front door slightly open, though there were no signs of forced entry. Family members speculated that Keisha might have been abducted while playing with stray cats. Her mother, Kristi, tearfully pleaded with the public for her daughter's safe return, asking anyone who had seen Keisha to contact the police. Step-grandfather Rodney Jones mentioned that Keisha loved the neighborhood cats and might have gone out to play with them, possibly encountering danger. The family had watched a movie on Saturday night before putting Keisha to bed around 9 p.m. Police confirmed that Miss Abrahams and her partner, Robert Smith, were the only ones to have seen Keisha in the 3 weeks before her disappearance. "It's been a living hell," Miss Smith remarked. Keisha had not attended school for the past week, having only attended for 5 days that year. Detective Inspector Russell Oxford expressed hope that Keisha would still be found alive. A massive search of the area continued until 10 p.m. yesterday, with SES workers canvassing the neighborhood and requesting access to backyards. The search is set to resume this morning. Forensic officers returned to the family's home, searching for any clues. The police media unit admitted to an error in their initial information release about Keisha's disappearance, mistakenly providing the contact number for a Blacktown car yard. Subsequent releases included the correct Crime Stoppers number. A police media spokeswoman assured that staff had been directing callers to the right numbers now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for taking your time to listen to this story, which was put together from different news sites, and this explains certain repetition of specific information in different ways, and also excuse the coherence in this particular story. However, justice was served. The truth could not remain hidden forever, as Keisha's life was vindicated through the arrest and sentencing of her mother and partner, Abrahams and Smith, for 16 and 12 years in jail, respectively. May her beautiful soul continue resting in peace. Peace and love, everybody. And please do consider subscribing to the channel to listen to more crime stories that are coming up.